What's up, everybody? Weston here with the Hidden Gibbon, and we're back with our third installment of Magic for the Working Class. And today we have one of my favorite commanders, one that I have my very own version of in paper, and one that is also kind of like an upgrade for some cheap from the Precon, and that is the Wise Mothman. So, before we get into it though, if you like these Magic for the Working Class commanders, feel free to subscribe, along with if you like my discussion content, other budget content, or my other deck techs. If you have a suggestion for a commander for Magic for the Working Class, which are all deck techs under $100, go ahead and drop that in the comments down below, and I see it as a good challenge. But without further ado, let's get into the Wise Mothman, shall we? So the Wise Mothman is a 3/3 for 4 with flying, and whenever the Wise Mothman enters the battlefield or attacks, each player gets a rad counter. Rad counters go on to players, and then at the beginning of your main phase, you mill one card for each rad counter that you have. For each non-land permanent revealed this way, you take 1 damage and you remove a rad counter. It's a very interesting mechanic. I wish that we would get more Fallout stuff so that way we could have rad counters make a comeback. Although, since we're in space, maybe we could get some back later. And whenever 1 or more non-land cards are milled, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to X target creatures, where X is the number of non-land cards milled this way. Pretty simple aspect here. You can go multiple ways with this. You can go 1/1 counters, you can go aggro, you can go mill, all sorts of stuff. And so we're going to swing in here with a bunch of little dudes. We have some of the stuff from the Precon, kind of like Zergo last week, but we also have some stuff to tune it up a little bit. So, first and foremost, we have Basking Brood Scale. It's devoid, so it doesn't have color, but it is a 2-drop for 2. Has Adapt 1, so if it doesn't have any counters on, you can put a counter on it. And whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on Basking Brood Scale, you can create an Eldrazi spawn, which they can sacrifice to add a colorless. This is really cool because you can continuously add more counters using the Wise Mothman. We have Bloatfly Swarm. It's a 0/0/4, enters the battlefield with 5 counters on it. If damage would be dealt to it while it has a 1/1 counter on it, prevent that damage, remove that many 1/1 counters from it, then give each player a rad counter for each 1/1 counter removed this way. So trading out that for that. We have Cankerbloom, which is, of course, sacrifice it. You can destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or you can proliferate. It's a Phyrexian fungus. We have Cathedral Acolyte. Each creature you control with a counter on it has Ward 1. That's pretty helpful. It comes from the Precon. And you can tap to put a 1/1 counter on target creature that entered the battlefield this turn. Pretty straightforward card. Then we have Emil, Vasselin's Roamer from Secrets of Strixhaven. It's a 3/3 for 3. Creatures you control with 1/1 counters on them have trample. This is an excellent tool to help get our stuff through. When I played the Precon before I modified it, a lot of creatures didn't have that ability, and they were just tripping over people's little tokens and dorks, and that was very frustrating. And then you can tap 5, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of differently named lands you control. Which is pretty interesting, but on a budget, you're probably not going to have that big of a creature from this. We have Azuri, Stalker of Spheres. When Azuri, Stalker of Spheres, enters the battlefield, you can pay 3. If you do, proliferate twice, and when you proliferate, draw a card. So, when it enters, if you want to pay up to 7 total mana, you can pay the 3 there, and then you can draw 2 cards. Not bad. Fathom Mage has evolved, so whenever a creature you control enters, if that creature has a greater power or toughness than this, you put a 1/1 counter on it, and whenever a 1/1 counter is put on this creature, you draw a card. Again, synergy with our Wise Mothman. Feral Ghoul, Menace, and whenever another creature you control dies, put a 1/1 counter on Feral Ghoul, and when Feral Ghoul dies, each opponent gets a number of rad counters equal to its power. Still not bad. We have Corpsejack Menace, which is if 1 or more 1/1 counters would be put on a creature you control, you put twice that many on instead. We have Incubation Druid, which it has adapt, so you can adapt 3, which just put 3 1/1s on it. And if it has a 1/1 counter on it, instead of tapping for 1 mana of any color, it taps for 3 mana of any one color. Infesting Radroach, flying, it can't block, and when it deals combat damage to a player, they get that many rad counters. Whenever an opponent mills an on-land card, if Infesting Radroach is in your graveyard, you can return it to your hand, so it has some recursion. We have Genova, Ancient Calamity. She's a 1/5 for 4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a number of 1/1 counters equal to Genova's power on up to one other target creature. That creature becomes a mutant. This is not irrelevant because a whole bunch of creatures from the pre-con deck were mutants. For example, the Wise Mothman. I don't think this one was, but this is a mutant. This is a mutant. See what we're getting at here? Mutant here. In addition to the other types, and whenever a mutant you control dies during your turn, draw cards equal to its power. That's really good when we have something like Lily Bowen here. Vigilance, Lily Bowen enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of 1/1 counters on Lily Bowen if its power is 16 or less. Otherwise, remove all but one of them from it, and then you gain 1 life for each counter removed this way. So if she gets really big, and then you have her die while Genova's out, you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff. We have Marcus, Mutant Mare, Vigilance and Trample, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card if that creature has a 1/1 counter on it. If it doesn't, put a 1/1 counter on it. We have Mona Lisa, Science Geek, Reach, and add X mana of any one color, where X is her power, and we're going to dump counters on her, so she's just going to get bigger. We have Ray Fillet, Wave Warrior, flying and evolve, and whenever a creature you control with a counter on it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, so card advantage there. We have Strong, Ward 2, and whenever he's dealt damage, you get 3 red counters and put 3 1/1 counters on him. Gain life rather than lose life from radiation, which is a very interesting effect. Techathal, if you would proliferate, you proliferate twice. Thrumming Bird, whenever it connects, you proliferate. Tireless Tracker lets you put clues onto the battlefield, and when you pop a clue, you get a 1/1 counter on Tireless Tracker. We have Topiary Lecturer, which has increment whenever you cast a spell. If the amount of mana you spent is greater than this creature's power or toughness, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. It's just a strange version of Evolve. You add a 1 green mana for equal to this creature's power. Vexing Radgull, flying, and when it deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 rad counters if they don't have any rad counters. Otherwise, you proliferate. We have Watchful Radstag. It has evolve, and when it evolves, create a copy that's a token of it. I cannot tell you how many times I have tried to get this to just generate a whole bunch of tokens, but it's kind of tricky. Usually I can get 2 to 3 out there, which is pretty fun. And when you create a copy of it, those can also get pretty big. They can also create copies, I mean. Winding Constrictor, if one or more counters would be put on a artifact or creature you control, you put that many +1 of each of those counters on there. And if you would get 1 or more counters, you get that many +1 of each of those counters instead. So this actually increases the amount of rad counters you get. Sorceries, we have Casualties of War. This was in the pre-con. Sorry for all the yawning, friends. It was a long day today. Lots of work outside. Destroy target artifact, creature, enchantment, land, and planeswalker. We have Contentious Plan. You draw a card, proliferate. Well, proliferate, then draw a card. Cultivate and Rampant Growth and Farseek for some ramp. We have ourselves Harmonize for draw. We have Squirming Emergence. Fathomless Descent. Return to the battlefield target non-land permanent card in your graveyard with mana value less than or equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. Which is pretty good, you know? Tezzeret's Gambit. Draw 2. Proliferate. Unnatural Restoration. Return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Proliferate. I really find... So, like, I am a lover of magic art, but I'm going to be honest with you. When I found this card to put in here, I really don't like the art for the person on here. It just kind of... It clashes too badly with this. And then Vat Emergence. Put target creature card from a graveyard on the battlefield under your control and proliferate for 5. Instance. We have some removal in Assassin's Trophy, Beast Within, Putrefy, right? We have Embrace the Paradox, which is draw 3 cards, you put a land onto the battlefield. Tapped Growth Spiral, draw a card, you play an extra land, or put a land card from your hand on the battlefield. Sorry, again, it's late. We have Flotsam and Jetsam, mill 3 and investigate, which isn't bad. And Jetsam, each opponent mills 3 cards. Then you may cast a spell from each opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost if a spell cast this way would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. We have Negate. It's the only counter spell in here, but you know it'll throw someone off when you do it. Inspiring Call gives creatures with draw a card for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter, and then those creatures are indestructible. Repulsive Mutation. Put X/1/1 counters on target creature you control, then counter up to 1 target spell unless its controller pays mana equal to the greatest power amongst creatures you control. We have an MDFC with Revitalizing Repast. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, gains indestructible till end of turn, and it's also a little Golgari land. Snakeskin Veil, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, it gains hexproof until end of turn. For our artifacts, we do have Arcane Signet, the Talismans for our mana rocks. We do have Cauldron of Essence, which is a new card, which is going up in price, unfortunately, for this deck. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life, and you can sack a creature to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So you use your ETB effect, say like on Azuri. When it enters, you pay the 3, so what you want to do is sack this to get something else back that has an ETB trigger or anything like that from your graveyard, or get back a Canker Bloom, and then you can sacrifice your Canker Bloom again, or find something else that you Bloatfly Swarm, for example. Sacrifice this, put back Azuri, proliferate, that sort of fun stuff. We have Contagion Clasp. When it enters, put a -1/-1 on target creature, and then you proliferate. For our enchantments, we have Awaken the Undead. In Mode 1, destroy target non-land permanent. Chapter 2, mill 3 cards. Chapter 3, you may discard a card. When you do, return target creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. Bread for the Hunt. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Hardened Scales. If 1 or more 1/1 counters would be put onto a creature you control, put that many +1 on instead. Hallowmurk Siege. You choose Sultai or Abzan. If you choose Sultai, whenever a counter is put on a creature you control, draw a card. Triggers only once each turn, or whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature, gains menace till end of turn. Inexorable Tide, whenever you cast a spell, you proliferate. Simic Ascendancy, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on creatures you control, you can put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more counters on it, growth counters on it, you win the game. We have Stock the Pantry. Whenever you put 1 or more 1/1 counters on a creature you control, put that many supply counters on it, and then you can remove a supply counter to draw a card for 2. Not bad. Pay 2, draw a card. That's not the worst thing imaginable in budget. The Necropolis, Chapter 1, each player gets 3 rads. Chapter 2, create X 2/2 black zombie creature token, where X is the total number of rad counters among players. Chapter 3, put 2 1/1 counters on each creature you control, that's a mutant or a zombie. And then we have Vault 87. Chapter 1, gain control of target non-mutant creature for as long as you control this. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It becomes a mutant in addition to its other types. And then draw a card equal to the greatest power among mutants you control. Still, not terrible. Lands? 12, 13, 10, Rogue's Passage, Opulence Palace, Command Tower, and Exotic Orchard. So that's the build. Let's take it on over for a spin, shall we? Right. So we have ourselves a handful of lands, but we do have Contentious Plan and Growth Spiral. So we'll draw for our opening turn. We're going to drop that Command Tower because Command Tower would be good. We are going to draw for our next turn. We're going to drop an island, Command Tower. I'm going to Growth Spiral, which lets us draw a card, and then lets us put an extra land onto the battlefield. I'm going to put a swamp down. Next turn, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop a forest. And I am going to drop the Wise Mothman. And on our next turn, go ahead and I will drop a swamp. And again, when it enters the battlefield, each player gets a rad counter. So we each had 1. So after our draw, we mill 1 card. It's a land card, so we do not lose a life or a rad counter. We're going to go here and increase our rad counters by 1. And since we can attack whenever 1 or more non-land cards are milled, you know. So we're going to go ahead and swing in. So we each get a rad counter. Then what we are going to do is I'm going to add Mona Lisa to the field and our Basking Brood Scale. So it does have Adapt 1, but, you know, hopefully we're going to get to put some counters on it. We go to our next turn, we draw, we mill 2 for our rad counters. Oof! We take 2 damage, which is fine. We do lose a draw spell here and Bred for the Hunt, which also is a draw ability, but we do lose both of our rad counters, which then means if one or more non-land cards are milled this way, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to X target creatures. I am going to put 1 on Mona Lisa and 1 on our Brood Scale. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cast our Watchful Rad Stag, and I'm going to swing for 3, giving us a rad counter. We already have quite a bit of lands, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to cast Contentious Plan. I'm going to draw a card, and we're going to proliferate, adding a rad counter, and we would obviously do this with our opponents as well. This also triggers on our opponent's turns, right? So in theory, we would have more counters on more things, and then we go to our next turn. So we ourselves are going to mill 2. We take 1, and I get to add a counter onto one thing. I'm going to put the counter onto the Wise Mothman. So we can always get something back now, but we're going to just keep swinging, bring in the beats, and that is kind of like the gist of what this deck wants to do. It's not by any means the most powerful deck in the world. By no means is that what it is. But what we can do is just keep adding counters to things, tapping for mana for things, and doing just an all-around fun job. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I am Weston with the Hidden Gibbon, and I am going to go get some sleep. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a good night. And wherever you are in the world, you know, I just hope things go well for you. Have a wonderful night. What's up?